Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Arcane Assist. I'm Tim, joined this week again by Evan. How's it going, Evan?
Hello. I'm doing well.
And I'm playing some Protectorate of Menoth. I'm playing Harbinger in the Exemplar Interdiction. And I'm fooling around with Menoth for a little bit, taking a bit of a break from the other testing that I've been doing. And Evan is playing the much requested post-CID SKORNE.
Yes, but only some of it.
Yeah, so you're playing Imperial Warhost.
Yes, so I might as well just hop right into it. This is Jalaam in Imperial Warhost. The main changes with this particular list are that the Aradus soldier now has sturdy and snacking, and his animus has been swapped out from heightened metabolism to swarm, which is far more attractive, especially when combined with Jalaam's feat. The other thing about Imperial Warhost that's cool and neat now is that Molik Karn is just a thing you can take. You don't have to be a Makeda.
Which is really cool, because Road to War synergizes as well with Molik Karn.
As is just him having a higher defense than armor.
And enabling rerolls. So like if someone needs like a 6 to hit you and they roll it, you can force the reroll.
Whole bunch of reasons. Also, yeah, just super cool. So the list itself is Jalaam with his battle group of Molik Karn and a soldier, as previously mentioned, a Cyclops Raider, a Titan Gladiator, 2 Agonizers, and a Basilisk Krea. Krea not going to be particularly useful this match. 2 Siege Animatrix, and 2 minimum units of Beast Handlers, 1 for each turtle, and also the plethora of beasts I have. So the goal of this list is to use the turtles to be huge beat sticks and also great guns to trigger Warpath off of. Molik Karn is kind of a threat that floats in and out of combat. He can charge in, have good threat with rush, and just being speed 6 and having reach. Go in, kill a thing, Warpath back 3 inches, use Fate Walker to move back another 5 inches if he has some spare fury, and just kind of slowly pick off units one at a time and just never die the entire game because he can be 8 inches back with a 5-inch piece of rough terrain between him and his target.
Yeah, it's really strong. And if you really need the cover against something, like you've got access to that, really helps protect him. I dig this list a lot. I think there's a lot of cool moving parts in it. For my part, I'm playing Harbinger in the Exemplar Interdiction. Battlegroup is just a Hierophant and a Judicator. Then I've got Severius 0, who is running a Dervish. Kind of the budget version of fitting Severius 0 into a list. It's just giving them the cheapest possible jack, and he's just there as a personal buff bot. I have a Bastion Seneschal, a high Exemplar Gravus, a max unit of Cinerators with their officer, a unit of Bastions, a minimum unit of Choir, and a unit of Knights Exemplar with their officer attachment.
What does your list do?
Well, there's a bunch of interesting moving parts in this list. It's kind of like a slow Exemplar list. No Cav, no Errants. Like the sort of faster elements of the list aren't present. Because Harbinger helps with Crusader's Call as a multiplier to help it get up the board. Everything's backed up by the really powerful gun platform that is the Judicator. Gets a lot of work out of that piece. And then Harbinger sort of just kind of keeps the game going longer by martyring a bunch of pieces really aggressively. She's got Guided Hand where she needs it, and she's got mostly like a very sort of business forward focused list. Lots of pieces that hit really hard and lots of things that make them hit more.
Cool. Sounds good. Without further ado, the game and deployment and stuff. All right, so the scenario we're playing today is Recon 2. I have the first turn. I'm going to start by deploying my turtles and my beast handlers behind them, just making sure they get their back arcs, making sure it's easy to hit, making sure something's base to base so that they can heal a little bit, and kind of making use of the terrain. It's very densely packed towards the center of the table here. We have that large obstruction on the right-hand side, which is my side of the table. We've got a forest, a rubble piece, a wall, another wall, and an acid bath. And then on Tim's side of the table to the left, we've got, from the bottom up, a rubble piece, a forest, a trench, and a linear piece of concealment. So I've got most of my beasts in the middle, the bug ADs, so he's going to deploy afterwards, and a turtle on either side.
So this is kind of a miserable table. Welcome to #Menoth problems. I won the die roll and elected to go second so that I could pick side. Despite my list having a really large Pathfinder module in the Judicator, I am sort of in an awkward spot, specifically on Recon. The placement of the flag and the objective makes it very, very difficult for a huge base to be there. So I have to either commit to playing the Judicator on the bottom of the board, wide around my own flag, and limited in what it can shoot, giving Evan that central obstruction as a really great screening piece, or play it in the fairly open spot it can enter the zone on the top side, but critically, that piece of linear concealment is outside of the zone, just a tiny, tiny bit. So I can't even tuck the Judicator into the zone a little bit as a contesting piece or a scoring piece. I have to completely clear that wall. So it's a tough board to play a Judicator on, and the other side is maybe even worse. So those were the sort of decisions that I made here. I'm looking to... like the kind of thing you could put in a list like this is somebody like Rupert to grant Pathfinder. And again, I've focused very, very hard on cutting as much of the support and as much of the chaff from the list as I possibly can in the interests of just playing, again, a very business forward list. Have a lot of things that can hit really, really hard and focus on delivering them by just having them never die by virtue of martyrdom.
So I actually don't mind this table at all. I can hand out Pathfinder with Scavenger's Blessing, and that also gives them Prowl, but, I mean, most of this isn't concealment, so that's not particularly relevant. And to cause Tim even more problems with his infantry, I can throw out Artifice of Deviation, which is going to be more rough terrain for him to deal with, which allows me to protect my pieces super well. And turtles don't care about terrain. I mean, walls are going to be an issue, but not so much as they will be for the Judicator, because Judicators aren't speed 8. And I have a lot of Pathfinder with the bugs and rush and, just a lot of ways of getting around the terrain. So I'm going to start out by moving Jalaam fairly aggressively up. He's going to cast Warpath. He's going to cast Scavenger's Blessing onto Molik Karn so he can run through that rubble fairly handily, and he's going to vanish forward because I don't think anything Tim has other than the Judicator can shoot at me, and I'm going to block line of sight by running the bug up. And I'm hiding behind my objective, so yeah. Whip a turtle twice, or 3 times rather. Heal him for 1, unfortunately, so he's taking 2 damage, but, take some. And I'm now measuring because I want to run the Judicator, not the Judicator. I want to run my pieces. I want to run the turtle as far forward as possible. But not that, because I don't want to get shot to death by a Judicator on the top, or rather bottom of 1.
Why? It's so much fun when the Judicator gets to shoot you off the board.
Disagree. So that's that 14-inch range is how far he threats with his flamethrowers. So I'm going to hold off on moving that turtle. I'm probably going to end up putting him just behind the wall with his friend and Agonizer. But we're going to hold off on that for the time being. This turtle is going to move super aggressively up this side of the table because there are 0 guns here, and he can kind of pick at and harass the things that are going to be on the flag as well as the Cinerators and stuff like that. This game, I'm a little worried about a couple things. Harbinger's main thing is Martyr, and the only source of grievous wounds is Jalaam. Now, that is a big problem for her, because, I mean, I can poke a Cinerator, don't even have to kill it, and then the rest of my list can kill it, and then because I can now kill something, I can trigger Road to War off of that. So I can guarantee, or not Road to War, Warpath. I mean, they're the same spell. Whatever. I can trigger that off of it because you're not preventing it with Martyr. That said, I only have 2, so I have to pick and choose where I'm putting those very carefully, pick off important pieces, and make sure that I'm getting as much use out of that as possible. That said, at the beginning of the game, I prayed Harbinger.
Trying to keep me honest, trying to punish any kind of forward movements Harbinger might want to make. And obviously, grievous wounds on Harbinger herself is really effective because she really needs to heal to recover from that martyr damage. I was just going to mention, because we sort of did something strange on camera a second ago there. There was a Dervish that I didn't deploy, the Severius 0 Dervish that I described. We just put that on the other side of the Judicator. Makes my choir a little bit out of position because it's probably not where I should have put it in the first place, but it's on the board now, which is important because now we're playing legal lists.
Yeah.
So my unpacking is a little bit weird, partly because of that. I move up and I passage both jacks to deny at least a little bit of turtle shooting, make it a little bit more challenging for Evan. My goal here is to put shots in relevant places with the Judicator, try to get maybe some incidental damage in a couple of different places. I'd really like to take out the Agonizer, but it's up there behind the wall. That's a bit tricky to hit with that Judicator with its inaccurate rat of 1, including Severius' bonus. So Gravus moves up using the Tactician from the Seneschal, gives Desperate Pace to the Cinerators, and then he repositions onto the flag. The Cinerator unit with Desperate Pace, we just sort of tidy that up because I realize I don't actually want them to be quite there. They walk 6 inches, getting them basically touching the edge of the zone, and then they mini feet for defensive formation, which gives them a repo 5, and they end in shield wall. So this is not like maybe the most excellent use of the mini feet, but getting 6 plus 5 is 11 inches, and under Desperate Pace they could run a mini feet 10 inches, so it gets them a little bit more threat projection. And what I want right now is I just want a bunch of hard targets for Evan to remove in the zone in a relevant spot, because this rubble is going to make it really difficult to interact with pieces in the zone, and I want to be relevant in it as early as possible. Judicator's walking up, so I can take those shots right away. As mentioned before, I'm going to take a shot at that Agonizer. I skipped allocation, just kind of getting a little ahead of myself. So Judicator only has the 1 power-up focus, and it's not battled, it's passaged, because I'm just trying to protect myself from some of those guns. So I'm looking to hit here. Maybe a drift will do a little bit of damage, but I'm not putting POW 10 blast in, I'm just putting POW 8 blast in. Still pretty good. Science importance 8. Decent blast damage. The boosted attack misses. So we scatter it. Sends the initial scatter back 4 inches toward me, and then the secondary scatter goes a couple more inches, hits nothing relevant. Second shot, no boost here. It scatters again, this time 6 inches to the 2. Goes way off into the middle of nowhere, and then we reorient and come back 1 to the 4. So nothing hit by either of the Judicator's rockets, and everything's out of range for the sprays. So that's that. It's the open on the Judicator's shots. It was maybe a little greedy to take shots there. Maybe I should have just run the Judicator, put it in the zone, been kind of a little bit further forward to present that initially. But I'm a bit anxious about the bug Evan's got up there. I know it's possible for him to trigger Road to War, so I wanted to make sure I had access to the Bastions available to screen that Judicator. So that's basically what they're doing here, is they're filling that space. A couple of them are in the trench. The rest of them are behind it, and they're just preparing to be a bit of a wall to protect the Judicator from that shooting. He's out of range of the turtle charging. He's passaged this turn, so there's no shooting issues, and I'm going to stick the Devout up behind the wall. That's basically what I'm doing with that side of the board. This particular game is really, like, it's a very strange split. We're looking at kind of trying to play almost 2 fields of combat, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep Harbinger relevant in both of them at the same time, while also keeping her behind this forest. She deployed out of kill box, so I'm not worried about needing to move up particularly far. But I want to stay 3 inches back out of that forest, because if Jalaam moves up and just takes a couple shots, the odds are pretty good he could just kill me, especially if I mark her a little bit low.
Yeah, with Prey and the fact that I'm using a Reaver gun, I'm range 12, POW 10 base, plus 2 because you're a large base, plus 2 because of Prey, so I'm a POW 14 and a Rat 9. So chances are I'm going to hit, and it's dice even, which I can boost, and then you're Grievous Wounds.
Yeah, and the first thing Evan does is look to see if he walks 6 and vanishes 3, does he have a line at the range of the rather impressive range of 16? You're going to see in a second why it was so urgent that I stayed super, super far back in this forest.
Yeah, so what I can do with Jalaam, and part of this is really good now because Molik Karn exists in the list, is I can walk 6 forward, vanish 3 forward, shoot Harby, then pay 2 for Fate Walker, and walk 5 back with a turtle in front of me, and feet up. And that means that I'm incredibly hard to kill. I have a turtle that's very hard to kill in front of me, and Harby can now not heal once she starts martyring things. She has to think a lot harder about it.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a weird game where I'm terrified of Harbinger's army, but she has to use those pieces defensively in order to make sure I can't get a single shot on Harbinger, or else that army crumbles quite quickly.
Yeah, a lot of Harbinger lists will have a couple of shield guards because she is quite vulnerable when it comes to this sort of situation. Putting something like a Devout in the list. I don't have that in this list. Again, it's the business forward approach, so I'm definitely focusing less on putting support pieces like that into a list like this. And you can see that while I think it makes for an objectively more powerful list to have a lot of workhorse models, it can fundamentally change certain matchups.
Mm-hmm. So this turn, the plan is fairly simple. I'm going to move up. I'm going to pressure certain spots with my pieces that are hard to kill. I'm going to feat to make them even harder to kill. And I'm going to cause Tim problems that he hopefully can't solve. So Jalaam's going to pick some targets to Grievous Wounds. I have 2 Cinerators that I think are particularly good targets for me to shoot. Keeps me safe. So I'm going to take those shots first. And then after that, with a good Warpath move, I can move the bug up into the Bastions with both my feet and Swarm. Means they're needing 5s to hit. And even if they hit their dice off 9, is it? If once I run the Agonizer in there for Gnawing Pain as well. So I can stack those buffs to mitigate Defensive Strike fairly easily. And with the feet, it helps a lot. Issue. Harbinger is a caster with Guided Hand, which means my feat is a lot worse if she gets to cast that at all. So I'm also going to try to make as much use as I can out of the Agonizer No Spells aura, which I forget the name of at the moment.
Spiritual Affliction?
That one. Yeah. Spiritual Affliction. So I'm going to force Harbinger to kill an Agonizer under my feet without a Guided Hand with her first couple of activations. And if she can't do that, she just doesn't get Guided Hand all turn.
So a relevant thing I want to point out here, Jalaam moved up to take a couple of shots at Cinerators. You clipped the Cinerator officer but did no damage, but then you shot another one of the Cinerator models and missed.
Yeah.
Just dub ones.
Missed with dub ones. Not ideal.
You haven't triggered Vengeance yet, but you've made it such that the officer can be killed by anything that gets in on him, because I won't be able to martyr him while he's Grievous Wounds.
Yep.
Grievously Wounded? I think that's probably the one.
I'm also going to put down Artifice of Deviation, because I think the rough terrain between the obstruction and the rubble pile is going to make it a lot harder for Tim's pieces to get in.
Yeah, this is pretty oppressive.
Yeah, this just means, and since I'm not planning on triggering Battle Driven on the Exemplars this turn, that they're going to have a lot harder time
when you're playing against Exemplar Interdiction, you should identify them by anything but the keyword Exemplar. He means the Knights. The Knights.
You make a fair point. The Knights. I said Battle Driven. There's
fair enough.
Only one unit has Battle Driven.
I'm sure our listeners know all of the rules that every single model in the Exemplar Interdiction list has. All of their defensive rules.
Yeah. Do your research, guys.
We're supposed to be their research.
Okay, well, Knights Exemplar have Battle Driven.
They do.
And I'm not triggering it this turn because that'd be dumb.
Battle Driven.
Battle Driven.
It sound more curmudgeonly.
This Agonizer is Gnawing Pain and Running. Or is that the No, that's a Krea. Never mind. I can't tell what my own models are.
Kreas are on medium bases,
yeah.
and Agonizers are on small bases. Do your research.
Gladiator moves up, casts Rush on the bug.
Critical play mistake here.
Yeah. Oh, the Krea moved up and boosted to hit a shot in a Bastion and missed.
Bastion in a trench.
Bastion in a trench.
So defensive.
The Krea is not particularly useful this game because the Judicator has Blessed on its guns.
Yeah, it's a theme benefit.
And there's no other guns in the list. So he's just going to go and pew-pew eye lasers at things and hope he paralyzes a thing or two. This turtle is going to charge, impact attack, get a bunch of damage in. kill an officer, maybe kill a Cinerator or two, hope to force Martyr. Oh, and this is where we find the fun part about playing Scorn into Harbinger. Turtles are living and therefore affected by awe.
It's so good. My defense 11 becomes defense 13.
Awful. And not only that, but Gravus is around, so you can't knock any of these Exemplar models down. Which means you actually have to roll a hit. Which means you can't just knock the same thing down and force Harby to keep martyring it. Which is
On your charge attack, you almost killed the officer.
almost. Not quite. Takes another attack. But we do it.
And Gravus collects the soul.
Souls.
I think the rule's called Brother's Keeper or something like that. It's a unique soul collection mechanic for Exemplars.
I warpath off of that with the bug, who you can see waving from behind that rock.
Yeah, that little crab leg. It's full of meat.
Okay.
Was it weird for you?
A little bit.
Good.
Good. All right. So, this is just a turtle rolling a bunch of attacks that don't actually kill stuff on Cinerators. Because Martyr is a rule that exists, and I'm just making Harby trying to burn through her health pool at this point. Because that's about all you can do against her. Make sure she's make sure you're pressuring enough that she's scared for the next turn. And that once you get through as many martyrs as possible, you can start actually killing models. Unfortunately, this turtle does not do that for me.
Yep.
And Molik Karn is going to go in on this Cinerator. Not grievous wounds. My plan here is to make as many attacks as possible on it. If Tim decides to not martyr fairly early in the process, I'm going to warpath further in to the Cinerators and kill another one, hopefully. And if he chooses to martyr fairly late in the process, I'm going to warpath the Agonizer forward, and that Agonizer is going to get deeper with his spiritual affliction, so that he can get the no spells aura onto Harbinger.
So my rationale is after you made your 2 initials and had bought 2 attacks, that's when I stopped martyring. I don't want to lose all of Harbinger's health here. I need some of those things as a resource for later in the game. But if you want to come in a little further with Warpath, then I want you to not be able to Fate Walk away.
I choose to just Fate Walk away.
Correct. So you opt not to come in, which I think is probably the right line of play here.
Molik Karn's a little too valuable to lose this early in the game, especially after only taking out 1 Cinerator. So he's going to pop back behind this cover with Jalaam. He's going to be under my feet turn. He's going to be far away from anything that can actually get to him, thanks to the Artifice of Deviation. And he's going to be ready to pop out from behind that rock next turn once we trigger Warpath.
Surprise Molik Karn.
Agonizer is going to avoid getting defensive struck by a Bastion and put Harbinger in the no spells aura.
Jerk.
Yay, we now have a feat that works properly.
No.
Yeah. The second Agonizer, not being able to get Harbinger in the aura, runs up and does Gnawing Pain, and then now is when we move the bug in. So the bug's going to move. The bug's going to charge a dude, and then we're going to put up Swarm and start making some attacks. Sorry, we're going to put up Swarm first. That way the defensive strikes don't have as good a hit chance, which is unfortunate because I didn't entirely think this through. So I had to drop Rush before going in because I can't end my movement and cast Swarm before the defensive strikes are made, unfortunately.
So, yeah, a little bit of awkwardness there. The plan had to sort of evolve dynamically. Fortunately, you're able to charge and still get where you need to go. Unfortunately, I have set defense.
Also bad. Yes, that.
So set, much defense. So you're a 13. I'm an 8. Need 5s. We're going to take 3 defensive strikes.
On 1 dice.
Meeting 5s. That's a little 1 die. Miss.
Cocked.
Miss. And hit. Haha. POW 12 Weapon Master because of Severius and also the Agonizer. No damage.
Base 13 is really good.
POW 13 Weapon Masters. That's Bastions.
It's terrifying. Anyways, Bug goes in, does a metric ton of damage on the first attack,
And
is martyred. And then the Bastions under Harbinger are absolutely terrifying. They can either spread that damage around, or if you roll too much, you can just martyr it. And then you can continue to spread it around. And then the next turn, they all heal one because of the Seneschal. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Bug's going to just keep making attacks, honestly. At this point, I realize it might have been better to swap the sides that I had Molik, Karn, and the Bug on. Just make the Bug go into the Cinerators, and then he gets to ignore their shield wall with his claw attacks because they have chain weapon.
Yep.
Turtle charging this Dervish at the top. At first, when I was thinking about doing this play, I was like, nah, that's just throwing a turtle away to a Judicator. But then I thought, I can probably make pretty good use of this wall and make it incredibly hard for the Judicator to actually get into melee with the turtle.
That is correct. Yeah.
Because with the unit of Bastions in front, that's super awkward to move, and the Agonizer there, and the wall, it causes a lot of problems to put a huge base in there.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this board is tricky to play, especially with the positioning of that Judicator there. With Crusader's Call, I can dig pretty deep, but there's a triangle of the wall, the turtle, and the Agonizer there. That as long as that Agonizer's there, there's no spot where I can actually fit the Judicator. Harbinger just fell over and rolled a little bit there, which is a delicate but top-heavy model.
So that was a long turn for me, honestly. But I think that turn, it's important to get the correct positioning so that I can properly pressure Harbinger later in the game. Because I know I'm not going to get a lot of work done, and I know that I have to present pieces in order to contest zones, and more importantly, again, pressure Harbinger. She's the gooey center of the incredibly tough Exemplar list.
So let's talk about a couple of elements here. The Cinerators move with Vengeances, and one of them gets into the back arc of the Agonizer with its Vengeance move. So that's important. They're mat 7, save for the one guy who's in Severius' 10-inch range. He's mat 8. So these guys are just kind of hitting the turtles, and at dice down 9 without a charge bonus, they're doing a bit of damage. Finally, the mat 8 guy with a back arc bonus does hit the Agonizer. Is out of Gnawing Pain range, so he's a POW 12 Weapon Master. So dice -1, and unfortunately only does 4 points. But chip damage on the Agonizer, that's going to be the first step. So basically the two-step plan here is put a bunch of damage into the turtle with the combination of Cinerators and Knights. Kill the Agonizer, who's preventing me from casting spells. Have Harbinger put Guided Hand onto the Bastions. Have the Bastions kill the Agonizer and put a bunch of damage into the Bug. And then, if possible, kill the Bug, but more importantly, remove that Agonizer to free up a spot for the Judicator to charge unobstructed the turtle, and have the Judicator kill a turtle. So my hope at the end of this turn is that I'll have a turtle dead or almost dead, and a turtle truly dead. And I get excited about it, and I jump right into it, and I forget to allocate focus. Which is the second time I've made that mistake. So, obviously, not an ideal circumstance. Harbinger can make use of focus, and she can heal and things, so it's not the end of the world for her to have a stack on her, but I certainly had the resources available to give to that Judicator. I can still do a ton of damage with 2 battled Signs of Importance fist attacks, but it would have been nice to have a couple extra ones for insurance. But that's okay. The Knight Errants do their mini feat for Divine Inspiration. That means instead of rolling 2 dice, they are rolling, instead of rolling 1 die to hit instead of 2 dice, they're rolling 2 dice, dropping one of them. So they're just looking for a 3 on one of those 2 attacks. Because a couple of them got either the back arc or the Agonizer in the front or the turtle. They do pretty good damage to the turtle here. I'm happy with what happens.
This is the Bug, right? Or that?
That one's the Bug. Yeah, they do a bunch of damage to the Bug, a bunch of damage to the turtle. They're kind of spread out pretty wide, like making use of that command 9. They killed the Agonizer, managed to do a little overtake cleave attack, put some damage into the turtle, put some damage into the bug. They're just spreading out, putting a bunch of weapon master damage in a bunch of different spots.
Yeah, the mini feat really helps actually hitting things on this turn, because basically you get to roll 2 dice, pick the higher one, and with my things that are already relatively low defense, only one of those dice needs to be a 5 or a 6, and you're probably hitting.
Yeah, and against the turtle, I'm at 7, your defense 10, I need a 3.
Yeah, even better.
So 2 dice looking for a 3 is pretty strong. 1 die looking for a 3 is actually pretty risky.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about that before. It's only a 60-something% chance to hit.
Mm-hmm. Makes those turtles surprisingly survivable, because they're gonna get missed, which doesn't happen very often, and they're a 10-20 piece.
Yeah. And just a couple of charge attack misses can be the difference between them dying and living. Harbinger, obviously, I'm sitting here wistfully wishing that I'd done something a bit more relevant with her focus stack. I do cast Guided Hand. From where I'm standing, I can draw a line from the back of my base that intersecting the forest, and that's within 8 of the bastions that I'm casting it on. I debate casting it also on the Cinerators, but decide not to. Harbinger's got a pretty good profile right now with her 12 inches. I think about feeding. I think about a couple of different things. I opt not to, thinking that maybe I'll have a late game feat opportunity. And then she dumps 5 to heal. And then the Hierophant walks up and heals her again. So Harbinger's on 15 boxes at this point. Feeling pretty good.
Moving up those bastions, trying to take on the bug.
Yeah, so I look at a couple of different positions. I've got 2 Bastion attacks on the Agonizer. Now, under Guided Hand and at mat 8, they need 4s and have 2 dice. That's pretty reliable. And their POW strength 14 drops down to 12 under Gnawing Pain. So dice down 1, I've got 2 attacks to kill the Agonizer, and then I can get that Judicator in on the turtle. Now, I feel like dice down 1, 2 attacks is pretty good, keeping in mind they're 3 dice. The average there is pretty strong. But I don't think to account for the fact that Swarm is actually -2 to attack rolls for living models than 2, and not simply +2 defense for that model. So the second Bastion who attacks the Agonizer actually misses his attack roll.
Yes, because you need 6s, not 4s.
6s, not 4s. So I do pretty good damage on the first attack, and they heal for activating the Seneschal's bubble. But I don't kill the Agonizer, which is problematic because I was really hoping to send a Judicator into that turtle this turn. Oh well.
I am glad you don't, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. They do manage to kill the bug. The 4 that got into range on it just combined to do enough damage to finish it off.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, like, I honestly wasn't sure how likely they were to kill it, because I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to get guided hand onto them. So I feel like with Guided Hand, you probably do it. Without Guided Hand, just probably doesn't happen.
Obviously, it would have been nicer to finish the Agonizer first, but yeah, no, they did well there. Dice down 7, they definitely had some spikes. So, and the Knight who charged it in the back, there were a couple of Knight attacks there that helped too. Kind of got softened up on the approach, but I'm certainly counting my blessings there. Now without Swarm, the Knight Exemplar Seneschal charges, or
Bastion.
The Bastion Seneschal. The Bastion Seneschal charges, and he connects, and he's going to kill the Agonizer here. POW 12 because of the aura, but he does manage to kill him.
Yeah.
But the positioning that I needed to put the Bastion Seneschal there, he is blocking the line for the Judicator now. I mean, I knew that when I charged him in there. We were pretty sure that I couldn't kill that Agonizer from any other vectors, so... Now I've got this Judicator who has an awkward 1 focus. He steps up and walks into the zone. So at least I'm contesting, and I center on the objective, thinking at least I'll score a point there. That's worth something. So I hit the objective, and the secondary blast clips the raider. I'm going to be POW 17 on the objective because I did battle this turn. Dice -1. My hope here is just that, I kill like a beast handler, punish Evan's support a little bit, get a point. I'm going to get one from Gravus on the flag. Evan's not currently on the flag with a solo on his list. So I'll put up a couple of point scenario differential. Mm-hmm. And that'll be, that'll keep that pressure applying.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty big weakness of the list I've made. I don't have any solos in it. And I was strongly considering switching out an Agonizer for Marketh. I'm probably going to try that in future iterations of the list. Although I am quite happy with this. Marketh probably will help out a lot. I hadn't considered Harmonious Exaltation, but I think it might be good. Anyways, you murder some stuff.
Plus, if you get souls on him, your resourceful caster can upkeep spells for free.
Yay.
I mean, I guess it's useful if you wanted one of your upkeep spells on a not Battlegroup unit.
Yeah, and I mean, he can cast Deadeye.
That's true, yeah.
He can
actually, Marketh's probably really good.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Or cast it on
Jalaam,
so that Jalaam can double boost something at single Fury investment.
All right, there's some stuff here.
Yeah, Marketh should probably be on this list.
Yeah.
All right, Cinerators get charges. So obviously they're pretty bogged down in terrain here, but even then they have enough distance to get some pretty sexy charges. Cinerator charge. They've got one die on the turtle to hit, and I miss one. Hit the next one. He still has quite a few boxes, but I'm hoping this unit can finish him. Yeah, 6 at the end of all those attacks. So I think about, like, is there a spot Gravus can go? No, not really. So Gravus moves up, puts himself on the flag. Desperate Paces. I'm not even sure I even used Desperate Pace with him. Might have put it on... Nope, nothing.
I'm pretty sure he just chills on the flag. Like, he's pretty happy where he is.
So it's your top of your turn, and the Krea freaks out.
Yeah, this is actually fine. I was planning on moving over to the turtle and doing this anyway, although I was planning on healing the body first because I wanted to get a 3rd rage token on the turtle. Unfortunately, the Frenzy doesn't quite do it. Needed a 9 for damage. I rolled a 7. We were close. Drop the Fury. It's fine. I actually need to take a threshold test on the Gladiator as well, but he passed. Titans are very high threshold. They're all threshold 9. Tibbers is threshold 10. The only one that's not is the Bronzeback, which is threshold 7.
But he helps manage Fury for everyone else. So.
Mm-hmm.
There was a cute play there after not frenzying. You had the beast handlers come over, condition the Fury off of him and enrage, and then you'll notice that the one guy's a little ahead of the Gladiator there, and he's out of position for prodding. What's going to happen there?
Little thing called Warpath.
Yeah, it's going to move 3 inches, and then he's going to get prodded.
Mm-hmm.
It's a preparatory prod. Say
It
that
is.
5 times fast.
No. So the first turn, I did not remember that this caster has Resourceful. So this turn, I definitely do, and I upkeep Warpath for free. This turn, I also see that this is probably going to be my only opportunity in the game to take out the Judicator. So I'm going to need to move that Gladiator, Warpath it forward. It's already been enraged. It's going to charge for free. And it's going to beat the crap out of that Judicator. Dice -1, pretty good. I'm also going to get a turtle on there with its mount attack and all its tail attacks and yada, yada, yada. I'm feeling pretty good about killing that Judicator this turn. Molik Karn still doesn't have any great targets to go into, if we're being honest. I'm not quite sure how I want to use him. That said, I really want to take out Gravus this turn. So what can I do to make that happen? Jalaam can go. He can shoot him off his horse and Grievous wounds him so he can't be martyred. Then, when he's off the horse, I can roll some shots with the turtle. Hopefully take him out before having to do my melee attacks with the turtle. The Raider's also going to come in and soften him up. Unfortunately, doesn't roll great for damage. Yay. So the turtle can come in afterwards, hopefully take it down with the gunshots, and then I can start knocking models down with my tail, so that Martyr is a significantly less appealing option on this side of the table. But yeah, first shot on Gravus doesn't do great. I'm also still checking the angles, seeing if I can do anything to get a shot on Harbinger. They're not great, to say the least. I would be probably a little too far forward if I decided to take the shot on Harbinger I have. Or Sevi-0 for that matter. Sevi-0 is also a pretty appealing target. Again, I'd have to be far too far forward. I would probably just die. So we're going to make the kill a Judicator plan happen. But there's a couple of things that we have to do first. I don't want to get defensive striked, so especially by the solo. So Jalaam's going to back up, get into a bit more of a safe position, because he's starting to not like the fact that Bastions and Ignite's Exemplar are starting to get closer to him. But that said, even though he's backing up this turn, he still threatens Harby because he can walk 6, vanish 3, and then has a 16-inch range gun with Snipe.
It's pretty terrifying.
So, backs up. Casts Snipe. It's range 16. He's going to boost at the Seneschal. He's going to do a crap ton of damage, and I think he just, aces him right off the bat. Not expecting that, but cool, I will take it, and I'll Warpath off of that. And then I'll shoot Gravus, and hopefully we can do significant damage there as well.
Yeah.
So we hit. We do pretty good damage. We do 7 damage. So we don't quite dismount him.
He's close, though.
But he's got 1 box left. And then we're camping 1 in the rubble. Feeling pretty happy about that, honestly. Turtle goes. I dial up the gunshots first. This is the bottom one. Start shooting at Gravus. Dismount him. Tim has some options as to where you can put him.
Yeah, so basically where the flag is relative to the rubble there, I can keep Gravus in the rubble, but not on the flag. Or I can keep him on the flag, but not in the rubble. Where he was before, he was base to base with the flag, but the flag is just a little tiny bit outside the rubble, and his larger base size would have let me keep him in the rubble. But I opt to keep him on the flag, hoping that he'll tank through this, and expecting that Evan, if he is ballsy enough not to contest, will have a Gravus problem.
So Turtle does not kill Gravus after he's dismounted. And
Leave him alive on 1 box.
Yeah, just starts going into some Cinerators that are already out of Martyr range. Because once again, this is looking like a turn where I completely ignore Knight's Exemplar in order to not give them battle-driven.
Yeah, that's funny that it keeps happening like that. But the turtle is in awe range, so it's once again sort of suffering from that. 12 inches is really, really big for a command value now.
So strong.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if I'm shooting Harbinger with my turtles, I am in awe and suffering that penalty. Because I have 12-inch range guns, and 12 inches is a long range for a lot of guns in this game, and you're gonna be in that aura.
Yep. Yeah. If you've got hand cannons, you're in awe.
Yep. Yeah. So we kill a bunch of Cinerators with that turtle, and again, we do not touch any of the knights because Knights are in the no-no zone.
You really just don't want POW 13 Weapon Masters?
Yeah. POW 11's good enough.
Yep.
And then I'm debating on what order I want to do this top thing in. I start out with the turtle. It's going to just kind of walk in. I debate charging and losing the impact attack just because of the angle. I can't properly charge because of the wall and my own Krea that frenzied into me. So I decide to just walk in and make sure that it would have been a bad idea to impact attack anyway, because I would have been in awe. And you might think that's not important because I'm just attacking a Judicator, but the gunshots are actually going into the Bastions to try to put more damage into them, force some Martyrs, force some spreading around, and maybe take out 1 or 2 for the Gladiator to come in.
Yeah, the Bastions were in pretty good shape. They got to spread some damage out. A bunch that overspiked on one guy. I got to Martyr. Sorry, I'm just checking the numbers on them to make sure I have the right guy.
Yeah.
We go over Bastion math a little bit.
Yes. So that happens.
Evan, at this point in the game, is saying, "Why do Bastions have so much health?"
Yes,
I'm like,
that.
well,
I was like, wait, didn't I do a bunch of damage to them last turn? And you were like, actually, I martyred most of those. And I was like, right, you can do that. This is stupid.
And then they all healed a little bit on the objective.
Yep. So I throw more tails attacks into the Judicator. I don't do quite as much damage as I'd like to because I miss one of my tail attacks. Just means the Gladiator is going to have to make up for it. So, unfortunately, with the way that I'm going in, I can either take a free strike from a Bastion or I can take a defensive strike.
Defensive strike seems like a better plan.
I choose the defensive strike.
Yep. It would be ideal if you could take a free strike and then a defensive strike. For me.
I was going to say, disagree.
They hit. Defensive strike does 5 damage. Not too much.
Yeah. And then we go to town. We start hammering on it. So we're at dice -1 with 6 of our attacks and dice -2 with 1 of them.
And it's boxcars and a bunch of damage and a bunch of damage. Yeah, the Gladiator hits really, really hard for the first string of attacks.
I mean, that one wasn't great.
Yep. Then you're back on rolling a 10. And then rolling
there we go.
Another 9. And 6 more damage. It's pretty average. And I just need to roll below once. No. Dead. So, it's a lot of damage. I did not expect it to be quite as much as it was. What's the average on a Gladiator like? You get a free charge, and then you buy...
So free charge, that's 10.5, so -1 is 9.5 damage.
Yep.
And then you get 5 more attacks that would do 6 damage each, so 5 times 6 is 30, so that's 39.5. Yep. And then you get the -2 attack, which does 5 damage, which is 44.5. But we also had a turtle hit you.
Yeah, sure. And the turtle's got 4
dice -1 attacks and 1 dice -4 attack and 2 dice -8 attacks. So
yeah, it's pretty close.
It's close.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. And the Judicator has 60 boxes, but if the Gladiator is doing 45 of those, the turtle only needs to do 15. Like, that's basically what it did. Yeah. Not wholly unreasonable. Your Beast Handler is charged in and killed a Cinerator who was on 1 box after being martyred.
Yeah, so I was like, well, Molik Karn's not going in this turn. We're holding him back again, just poking him behind cover, getting him ready to go in next turn. Beast Handlers are just going to move into the zone and try to kill a dude. I mean, do you want to martyr 2 anatomical precisions from a Beast Handler? Like,
not really.
Sure. The free Cinerator for me, then.
Yeah.
Eat 5-point support. Yeah.
So with Molik Karn in the wings, it's a little concerning because you've got this like really, really hard hitting kind of scary piece still available to threaten. Yeah. And what I want to do at this turn is dig really, really deep and kind of bring up all of my pieces and just be super aggressive, and I'm still a little bit afraid you're just going to kill me with a combination of guns and Molik Karn.
Now, that said, I only have 5 minutes and 48 seconds by the looks of it at this point in the game once I end my turn. And at this point, I believe the score is 3-1 at the end of this turn because I score the top zone, but you score your flag, and last turn you scored 2 points because of the objective in the flag. So I'm a little bit behind on scenario at this point. And a lot behind on clock.
So, yeah, I've got a 20-minute clock advantage, so it's time to sort of try to leverage that. Cinerator moves with vengeance and does not do really anything to the turtle here. Nothing to allocate to, so can't make that mistake again. Gravus is full on souls. And Harbinger has 10 focus and Severius has 5. So I've got some tools. I'm going to start with the Bastions over here. They're all going to stay in Severius Zero's aura, and they're going to charge, a couple of them charging the turtle, and several of them charging the Gladiator. So I end up getting all of them in for charge distance. I'm filling up this zone. I'm hoping to put a bunch of work into a Gladiator who's already taken 5 boxes, and I'm trying to put a bit of work into a turtle as well. So charge attack on the turtle. Really nice roll there. Does a bunch of damage. And second attack on the turtle also hits, also does a ton of damage. It's their dice down 6, so done quite a bit to it. Couple of charges on the Gladiator. Still pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you're wailing on this thing, and I mean, Scorn Beasts are a lot of boxes, pretty high armor. But you're, what, POW 14 Weapon Masters now? Because of Sevi?
The Eye of Menoth aura.
Sevi Zero is so good.
He is, yeah. He's only available in a couple of themes, but he's defining in the themes he's available in.
Yeah, it's funny how much work that model has really done for you, and how little we've mentioned him because he does it just by existing on the table for you.
We do kind of a weird oblique charge, not leaving the line of sight of the turtle, not leaving, me having line of sight to the turtle, but functionally charging like almost backwards. It's a lateral play, but it's just weird looking, but totally legal.
You did 3 damage.
Yeah.
Halfway there.
Cinerator's underperforming a little bit. I'd really hoped that through the combination of the Vengeance attack and the Charge attack, the Cinerator might finish the turtle here. And I'm like, can Gravus charge it? And then I send something else over to the flag. What I don't want right now is to have the unit of knights to have to kill this turtle. But I think that's basically going to be what happens. The issue is there's 3 of them in its melee range right now. And I'd really like them to charge, say, Molik Karn, charge the beast handlers, and do some cleave overtakes. Just really do almost anything other than what they did. But instead, Gravus gives desperate pace. The officer charges 5 full inches through the rough terrain to get on a beast handler. I get a couple of charges a little bit wide and a couple of models that run. I've got 2 charges on Molik Karn, 2 charges on the turtle, and 1 non-charge on the turtle. The officer gets to overtake. She's at a range to cleave on anything specific. Charges on the turtle. First one doesn't really do very much. Second one hits and blows it up.
Yep. Yeah, the damage potential on those guys is crazy. But they didn't really need to do a whole lot of damage to the turtle that only had 3 boxes left.
Yeah. 1 misses Molik Karn, 1 hits Molik Karn and does, like 6 points.
Choir charge.
Yeah, so Choir, under Severius, are actually Mat 5, POW Strength 7, but they have reach. So I've got 2 of them who are charging, unfortunately, over the wall here. So, like, Mat 4 goes up to 5, goes back down to 3. They need 7s. First one misses, second one hits, and does a couple of points of damage. I think maybe 1 point of damage, something like that. So it's down 13. The other one charged the Gladiator, and I was looking to do like a point, but I don't. I think the Gladiator's on literally 1 box. Is that right?
Gladiator's on 1 whole box.
Yeah. So the Hierophant moves over and heals Harbinger for 3 points. Severius himself charges the Gladiator and hits the Gladiator and boosted from the charge, kills the Gladiator. Severius, interestingly, has remarkably good battle stats because he is in his own Eye of Menoth. So his Mat of 5 goes up to 6, and his POW Strength of 12 goes up to 13. His Magic Ability 5 goes up to 6, and his Immolation at POW 11 is actually at POW 13. So he puts an Immolate and boosts damage in on the turtle here. Does not get a crit fire. Does not do quite enough damage to really scare it, but it's there. Harbinger's still playing a little scared, so she just dumps 5 to heal, gets all the way back up to her full 17 boxes, is camping 5, and she stays behind that.
All right, I've got very little time to explain this. So Jalaam is going to walk, I'm going to move some stuff out of the way. Then Jalaam is going to walk, vanish, and start shooting Harvey. Krea goes up to headbutt this Bastion so it can't defensive strike the turtle. When the turtle moves millimeters forward to get into our range and also shoot range of Harbinger. So Jalaam walks up, vanishes, snipes, boost to hit, hits, barely. With Prey, I'm Rat 9.
Yep.
Dice even, crush the first damage roll. You reduce it, You've taken 7 damage from that, I think.
Yep.
Second one.
Sorry, 9 damage from it. You rolled a
hits,
14 on the first one.
does 1 damage after damage reduction.
Yep.
All right, fine. We move up into that range to shoot Harbinger with the turtle. You get 2 defensive strikes.
I think only 1.
1 defensive strikes. I roll 4 shots, the magic number, the thing we need here.
9s to hit.
And 9s to hit. Roll the 9 on the first shot. Do not great damage. You reduce it. Second shot misses. Third shot hits with boxcars. Boxcars for damage. Kills Harbinger with a 13 damage roll. And there it is. There's that squishy, gooey center of the Exemplar armored mass that never dies.
So obviously, I don't think the assassination was the most likely possible
Oh
option.
god, no. Oh god.
But I mean, when your chips are down, you got to take the outs that are given to you. And I probably should have slipped Harbinger onto the other side of the flag a little, or pardon me, that forest a little bit. Tried to play a little bit more defensively with her. There's some options for Harbinger, including we've talked already about playing with a Devout or playing with Rovan and Co. In Faithful Masses, you can play with Dart and Vilman, who's a shield guard. Getting a couple of shield guards in there is relevant. Even something like playing Vengers with her and using them to just block line of sight to her is really powerful. That's an option in this theme. But that's our game, folks. I mean, sometimes it's wacky and wild endings. I felt really secure in this matchup for a large part of it. I felt like for moments in the game, I was like, am I being too conservative with Harbinger? And then at the end of that game, I was like, apparently not.
Nope, because if you poke your head out, Jalaam shoots it off.
Yeah, Jalaam's a neat caster. He's got a lot of tools, and definitely...
Yeah, I think he was good before, but not stand out in any particular list. And after CID, he's been given some great tools that let him shine a little bit. In this, the additions of Molik Karn and the changes with the bugs help him a whole lot. And then in Masters of War, where he's also quite good now, he has access to any ranged war beast at all, so he can get snipe. He just needed a raider. That's all he needed, and he has that now.
Yeah, it's really cool. I dig him. He's a neat caster. He's got a lot of really cool tools. So that's our report for the week, folks. Thanks for excusing us a brief winter holiday break. And welcome back. If you're watching this on our Patreon service, thank you very much. Appreciate the support. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out our Patreon. You get videos a week early, and it doesn't cost you more than a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's us. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.